This is a pretty simple operation, just one enterprise. It's not really actively managed. It's owned by this operator's family. They have multiple operations. He has some ideas for it. He'd like to present that. So, this situation is a common one where you have maybe multiple owners or multiple managers trying to decide the best course of action. Owners might be reluctant to change, especially when you have a management plan that's maybe been in place for a long time. This is kind of a risk management opportunity to give one more confidence in a new direction. Yeah, so this is a different operation. I guess you're like your dad's operation. It's a pretty simple one. A lot of people have just one enterprise that they want to maximize gross margin and profit from. And so that's kind of what this is. This operation isn't real actively managed. Zetch was saying the cattle are just worked once a year at the time of weaning and preg check. And the calves, no?
No preg check.
No preg check.
There's lots of room for improvement on this one.
Okay. So you just wean off the calves and sell the calves, and the herd keeps going.
Yep.
So why don't we go ahead and kind of open it up. Here we see your herd numbers are dropping a little bit, 437 on year one, dropping down to 409 eventually. Current situation, we're not saving any replacement heifers. You're purchasing the replacement heifers 30 per year. Now let's look at what our grazing numbers are. Look at the gross margin. So 385,629. Let's go ahead and look at enterprise efficiency, 5694 in year one, and then dropping to 3852, then dropping down or staying right about that level. Annual profit we see is dropping. So you're starting at 385, 629. So those are dropping. Some of that's a reflection of inflation because your costs are going to be going up, but your market price, we said there's going to be no change there. So your herd numbers are going to be dropping. That's partly responsible for the decrease in profit, but also your enterprise efficiency isn't as good. It's going to be dropping a lot from what you initially have.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's on a decline, and that's how he's operating. He's phasing out himself. He's losing interest in this area anyways. And that's where, if I could present him with, there's a lot of little improvements that could make a big difference, I think.
Yeah. So some of the things we talked about, right? Like they're only getting worked once right now. The calves aren't being vaccinated early on. Cows aren't being dewormed. What if we do some of those things, right?
My thoughts are, the very minimum would be to improve our conception rates and to weaning weights or to weaning. Mm-hmm. I would vaccinate at least the breeding females. Mm-hmm. And then I've noticed in years past a huge increase with the copper selenium boluses. Mm-hmm. And then I'd have better bull coverage. And then I would preg check. I think that would do a huge amount to improve things, just preg checking.
So what we want to do simply to analyze some of these things is to consider the ways that those changes would impact our inputs. For example, maybe our pregnancy percentages and our wean percentages maybe impact our mortality rates, impact our direct costs as well. If we can put those in, we can then see, okay, this is how things are going to change accordingly. We're going to be changing the direct costs. Let's look at doing some things different. And we can do these things individually or one at a time. Why don't we just do them all as a group right now? So we're going to institute preg checking at $7 a head total cost. We're going to institute vaccinating the calves early on, vaccinating the cows later on, deworming the cows early, like at marking and branding time, giving them selenium boluses.
The other one a couple things I would do. They're a little pricier, but that'd be the maybe an increased bull coverage in a breeding soundness exam on the bulls.
Okay, so breeding soundness exam on the bulls, that's going to be about $3,600. Increase bull numbers.
Yep. I'd like to have 1 per 15 cows.
Okay. Right now it's 1
No,
per 17, I think. So we got 411 cows divided by 24 is about 17. And you're saying you want to get down to 15?
yeah.
About 3 more bulls. Price per bull. So let's say 15,000 to buy 3 more bulls. We're going to have a $15,000 one-time cost at the beginning. Go to additional costs and income, the loans payable, and put a balance of $15,000. We're going to pay it off in 5 years at, say, 7% interest rate. And put 27 bulls. Now you got 3 bulls. You're going to maintain a higher bull to cow ratio. So between the BSE, the breeding soundness exam, preg checking is 6,400. What's our year one breeding animal number? 440. Okay, so that's $14.54 per head, and then to add those other costs between the vaccinating the calves, vaccinating the cows, worming the cows, giving them the selenium boluses, that's another $10 a head. So it's going to be $25.54 a head more on our direct costs. The total for that is going to be $25.54 more per head. And then on the other side, how's it going to affect your weaning percentage, your pregnancy percentage, your mortality rates, your calf weights? Let's go and look at that. Your mature cow pregnancy percentage, average nationally is about 92 to 93%. So let's say it brings us up to average. Wean percent, you're going to have less calf death from Clostridium perfringens, red water, calf pneumonia. So let's say that our wean percentage goes up to 97%. The wean percentage in our H2s also goes up, say 1%, it goes up to 96%. Sales, heifer calves and steer calves, your weights are probably going to go up with worming. Let's say it adds 25 pounds to each of those. That's, I think, pretty conservative. Also, go back to your price. We said we should get a better price if we're marking those calves are not being sold intact. Those steers, 15 cents. Now let's look at our reports. So herd numbers, 440. It's staying a little more steady. Look at our enterprise efficiency. Enterprise efficiency went up $61.87. It was $56.49. So that means over your costs, it's going to increase your enterprise efficiency by $5 per unit of grass. Go back to annual grazing. We're using 6,800. So that's a $35,000 increase in profit. Doing the same thing, same enterprise, it more than pays for itself by almost $35,000. Look at our cash flow. The cash flow is up $22,000, but we, are paying back a loan, and we have that instead of in cash, we have it in 3 more bulls. We have another $15,000 in bulls. Doing that alone will increase your annual gross margin, your annual profit, about $35,000 a year. Now, that was a lot of different things we looked at, but I mean, you can do that for anything, really. You can do any cost benefit analysis as long as you can recognize how your variables are impacted, how your costs are impacted, how your production statistics are impacted, how your sales weights are impacted, all those different things. It'll instantly tell you, okay, that's what you can expect if what you say is true. Go back to those weight changes. Say it was 40 pounds more. And let's see that difference in. So making those changes is going to be somewhere between $34,000 and $63,000 change in profit.
I think that's very. I would assume that that's fairly accurate. Yeah, 30,000 to, I mean, that's a 10%, 10 to 20%, 30 to 60,000. That's a 10 to 20% increase, which is huge.
Yeah.
With the presentation of the increase in profits through your guys' program, that's where it would be something that I could present to my dad. I have kept my hands out of it just because, in my opinion, there's a lot of inefficiencies. It wouldn't be the way I would drive it, but I could use this as a tool to say, hey, look at this. I'll manage this to this spot, by making these few changes, and if we could split the cost of the increase, and that's and I my dad being a businessman would be. I don't see why he wouldn't do it. It makes him more money with no extra cost to him. It helps to show the increase in profits that could be potentially happening with these few changes. It's not that he doesn't desire to do these things; he just doesn't see the benefit over the cost. But if we can show a clear margin there, then I don't see why that wouldn't motivate a guy. He'd actually enjoy sitting next to me and having me change numbers and see what that would affect. These are all things I kind of hope to do over the years. This could bridge those gaps and allow for a better handoff and for longevity in ranches, in the sense of not just going, well, there's no money in this, we're selling it.
What you're saying is very kind of common. A lot of people are very busy. You might as well, work for a good plan, because you're going to do the work either way.